engines are go.
What's going on, Star Wars Unlimited fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to do a quick video on a couple of things, mainly some deck lists that I think we should consider when we're talking about what are we playing in our next PQ. I'm going to talk a little bit about the meta, but mostly I want to cover a few deck lists that I just kind of picked out during some last couple weeks of testing personally. And sort of showcasing what I think is decent into the overall meta. I know the meta is like sort of bouncy right now, but I think there's a few decks you can run with and do very well against most of what's popular right now. And then for those offshoot decks that are just kind of popping up out of nowhere, you sort of just do the best you can against them. But today I want to talk about a few deck lists that I think are pretty spicy. Some of them you've already seen and know about, but a couple that, well, it's really just one deck I think that stands out. I'm not going to waste any time. We'll get talking about these decks and sort of like trying to navigate you through your deck identity crisis before PQ, because that's what I'm going through right now. So today I found a pocket to record today, so I just figured I would put something out that was sort of just on my mind. But yeah, before we go on, guys, if you like the content, I've been trying to put out a lot as much as I can. Please subscribe. It's helping grow the channel. I'm trying to get to that 100 subscribers. I'm thinking of doing a giveaway pretty soon, maybe like for 500 subscribers to really ramp this thing up. But I'm putting a lot of time, or all the time I can, into recording and putting out some decent content for anybody that just likes to watch while they're bored, or listen while they drive, or just you know, trying to find some new stuff to watch on YouTube for Star Wars Unlimited. So let's get right into the spice, though. Not showing this one first. Actually, we're gonna talk about the Boogeyman right now. So we got to consider this deck right now at PQs, whether you're planning on playing it or playing that, you know, you're gonna be playing against it. I think this list is from the Lil Top 32, but mostly these decks are all doing the same thing. Some of them have a little bit of splash spice in there. But I do think this deck it's a problem if you don't have an answer for it. They almost just auto win if you can't answer some of their like 5, 6, 7 resource turns where they're either piloting Vader on a ship or just swing big damage with the Clone Combat Squadron. You know, the Sanctioner's Shuttle, sorry, that is a tongue twister, is a real problem for ramp decks, because like for Palp on that on that turn 2 3 resource play, you're usually playing Super Laser Tech. It's probably safer to play a resupply right now. So in some games against Vaders, I've been resourcing my Super Laser Techs, although that feels really bad when I'm playing with Palp against Vader. But yeah, this deck we got to consider because it's able to sneak wins. You know, you're flooding the board and you're just going to base. A lot of big problems for this deck are Sentinels in space, and when I say big, I mean if they already have their Victor leader out and a buffed up Clone Combat Squadron, then it's, you know, they're probably going to be able to swing through that Bright Hope or whatever it is you have, that you know, the Black Sun Starfighter, or the I forgot the 3-cost blue hero blue one. For some reason the name isn't coming right now, but the one that's got 4 HP and swings back for 3. Yeah, so those things can only like stall maybe 1 or 2 attacks, but then once they get through your Sentinel, they rebuild the board and they're just getting through to your base. So Bombing Run has been a huge card against this deck, so if you're in red, you definitely want to consider a Bombing Run. I mean, even in the sideboard right now is probably a good call, just because this deck is soaking up a decent percent of the current meta. I mean, hasn't won too many. I think there's been a few wins out there, like I can't say right now off the top of my head without the data in front of me, but I know there's been some top placings, some top 8s. definitely top 16. So people are playing this deck, and you got to look out for it. Like I was at a local showdown recently. I was on Vader pilot, but late country. But we did have like I think the rest of the field was all yellow Vader. As far as Vader decks there, so I think we had 22 players. It wasn't that big. It was just a small showdown. And I think we had 7 Vaders. Vader pilot was the most represented deck that day. Everything else I think was different, maybe for the exception of I think we had 2 Sabine greens, 1 Datavault, 1 ECL. But yeah, so look out for this deck, plan for it, figure out your plans against it, try to practice against it, because if you come across this at a PQ and you haven't practiced against it, or you haven't thought about it to have answers against it, you're probably going to lose. So something you got to consider for sure. And I think it's one of this deck's biggest nightmares is like overwhelming barrage, like being able to spread damage far enough to kill their units. A big card that, like, against me, someone I played, my buddy Chris, who's a local judge here in Orlando, shout out to Chris. He's actually our Discord, one of our Discord L1 judges as well. So shout out to the L1 judges in our tutor-based Discord. If you want to hop in there, the link's in the bio. Come in, talk about decks and bullshit with us. We love having new people. Yeah, so have a plan for Vader Yellow. The deck gets annoying. Evacuate is the card I was going to say. Chris used that against me when I was playing Vader Lake Country, and I ended up actually taking the win of the best of 3. He got 1 game, and then I got... I think I got both games, or he got 1. I'm not too sure. But Evacuate happened. I was able to rebuild my board. Like, every turn he played that on my 6 resource turn when I'm going to flip Vader. He would claim the turn before and then play the Evacuate. I was able to rebuild the board and then reestablish, you know, just having swing damage before he can get to like his super laser blasts and just start controlling the board. So look out for Vader. Next deck I want to talk about. So Palp, Mono Palp, Datavault. This is Wu's list, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I made any changes to it. I had plans to make some changes to it, but right now it's actually feeling pretty good. So Palp, I think, is really good against a couple decks. A couple that stand out to me is, and it might not be like really good, like it's not like a 70-30, but Han 2 Datavault, they're damaging their big units to get them out. If you're ramping enough, and in this deck versus like yellow Palp, which is also a very good option right now. I was on yellow Palp for like the last couple months, and then I made a pivot once this Datavault meta, you know, emerged, and you just need that extra 3 health. It just feels like you need that extra health, especially because Palp is so bad into Sabine already. It's the margin of error against Sabine. It's really up to what you draw. Like Palp almost has no chance against Sabine most of the time, but if you have enough practice, if you have enough answers, you can get through. So like this, I think, has enough Sentinels to hold up against Sabine on the ground, and you just need Sentinels. Like, have things soak up damage. Try to get your Yularen and your Salacious Crumb healing going, where you play the Crumb while Yularen's out. You get to heal 2 because you get Crumb's healing ability when you played, heal 1 damage, and then you also get Yularen's when you play a green unit heal, so you get 2 heals. So you have to have that behind your Sentinels, so you're passively healing. Obviously, like, most of the time, Barrage or, you know, if they ECL Wrecker, if you're playing Sabine, then they ECL Wrecker, they're killing 2 things. You really lose out on that pretty quickly. So if you can stick to healing and kind of stabilize until you get to your late game, then that's great. One big play here is your Enterprising Lackeys, which I think my change was I wanted 2 Enterprising Lackeys in the deck. I just feel like in testing, it's been overperforming against Sabine, because when you play your Lackeys on 5, you play your Barrage, so you're barraging for 7, and that can clear most of what they've got. So I really like this right now for Sabine. If you're playing Palp, your biggest dodge deck is going to be Sabine. You don't want to play Sabine in the field. Obviously, you have no control over what you're playing and your pairings, but right now, I think in my testing, Han 2 Datavault, I like this against it. They play their Crate Dragons. Hopefully I'm stabilized enough to where I can choose sides. if they forget, which, you know, in some testing I've had people forget that, you know, they want to cheat out that Crate Dragon, but they instantly forget about Palp's Flip. Good players are not going to forget about that, so you have to factor that in, obviously. I do like Architins in this deck because Ray Datavolt's a big deck, so grindy, late game, just like Palp Green. You want something to ambush those home ones really easily. On the sideboard, you have your Palp's Returns, another Enterprising Lackeys. The Eager Escort Fighter has been... that card's so good right now. Because you're able to kill these Falcons from these Han players when they play those out on the next turn. Obviously, you lose a unit, so, like, you really just... It's kind of like a... What's Open Fire? Open Fire's 3-cost 4 damage removal. So it's like your Open Fire as a unit. Not as good because it can only target space units, especially if there's no Sentinel in space. This is good to clear out the Bright Hopes, so I do like doing the 4 damage, and then, you know, hopefully by then you can play your TIE Dagger to do the last 2 damage. So I do like that. And I just love having a lot of Sentinels. We have a full official package to make sure we turn on the Royal Guard Sentinel. You do have to have an official out to have a unit have Sentinel, or to have him have Sentinel, you have to have an official out. So I do like him in the deck. That's like an auto include. I feel like that 5 health just goes a long way. And if you don't get your lackeys for your barrage, you can at least get your Royal Guard. On that 5 resource turn, you can have him already out, and then barrage for 5, which is, you know, not that bad. But then again, if he's a Sentinel, you're barraging for 5, then they have to run into a 5/5 Sentinel if it's been damaged, and maybe it's a little less HP, but yeah, solid list. Dodge Sabine as much as you can. Against Sabine, you're basically mulliganing for all your Sentinels. Ramping is risky because, I mean, they're dropping multiple units every turn. You gotta at least drop your Sentinels, so like, if you find a ramp, it could help you get to like your barrage faster, or maybe like get into a you know, maybe you get into a mall barrage, or you're ramping enough, stabilizing enough to where we can get to that reinforcement walker play, so you can start healing. I mean, Sabine's tough, but against these like blue hero mid-range decks like the Yoda greens, the you know, if there's Obi-Wans out there, I think this does great against it. Like these hero decks. Anakin, I think this deck will do really good against, for the most part. I think he has a lot of Sentinels to stop his flip from being good, and then we play Confiscate to get rid of lightsabers, to get rid of dark sabers. So I think it's pretty decently positioned. You know, why wouldn't Wu play this over Kira? Because I think Kira just has a little bit of a step up with having access to Avenger. Although you can win by just relentless locking them, they can do the same to you. So that matchup's it's a little sketch. I do like the variance of ramp in this versus that deck because you have the 3 commands, so your ramp goes from 6 to 9. So this deck is probably going to hit ramp more often than Kira. So I don't know. Maybe this has a good decent matchup into Kira. I think it will, because you're getting your Palp's Returns into. Or your post-board game is going to be very good into Kira, but her post-board game is also going to be pretty good into Palp. You know, because more than likely she's bringing in Palp's Returns as well. But yeah, you know, you don't have that blue removal like she does, but you've got Sentinels, you've got your barrages, you can steal things. But yeah, Palp, definitely want to consider Palp because I think he's a good option. Not the best. I mean, Sabine's going to be popular, so maybe I'm on a silo with that. You know, if you can't beat Sabine, why are you playing a deck? I don't really believe in that. I think there's ways to get around Sabine. They're just very slim. So you're just hoping to dodge that when you play with Palp. But I like the deck into a lot of the meta decks right now. Vader Yellow, I will admit, Vader Yellow is a little sketch, but with the Eager Escort Fighters, I think you do well. And then Enterprising Lackeys into Overwhelming Barrage, there's pretty much really nothing they can do to come back from that. So, and you have your Confiscates to get rid of the Vader deploy. So I think this deck does okay against that Vader deck. Sure. So yeah, let's go on. So Cad Blue, this will be one of the oddballs. I don't think it's really that oddball. It's been getting top 8s and I'm sure there's a couple of tournaments out there it's been able to sneak. I haven't really thought of any off the top of my head, but I know it's a decent deck into Kira. It's able to recur with the Bounty Hunter crews. Actually, okay, this deck list has it in the sideboard, which I think is a little weird. But yeah, so stealing units, using Cad Bane, Dryden Boss, I think is a little like win more with having to use Cad Bane and then use Dryden to hopefully kill that unit or play that unit that you've captured. He's interesting in this deck. First Light is definitely interesting. Units getting grit is pretty... I don't see the benefit of having First Light, but then again, this is... I forgot where I grabbed this list from. But generally, they're doing the same thing. They're playing their removal. They're playing like some of this yellow Bazine package with McClunky and trying to get rid of your hand a little bit. Capturing things, removing, and getting to your late game Snokes. I don't see main board Avenger in here, which is concerning. I don't understand the logic behind that. But most Cad Bane Blues are going to have Avenger in the main board. The old Enfys Nest in here is pretty interesting. I can see why it's in here. You know, maybe it's in there to maybe trade out some units a little better because it gives the defender minus attack. But yeah, interesting list here. I think it does well into control, and right now we've got a lot of Kira. I think it does very well into Kira. You know, one post board, this deck really just kind of runs through Kira because you can recur all your stuff back with Bounty Hunter crew, and if there should be a restock in here as well. This list is a little weird. Like I said, I just picked a random Cad Blue list, but yeah, typical yellow villainy blue pack. With removal and just playing some of like what makes the Underworld package good, so we can still use the Cad Bane ping. I don't think it's amazing in this game. Like, I don't really think they really care about the ping much. It's actually good because your ambush units are really doing 1 more damage. If you're using a removal to keep the board clear, every time they play a unit, your Forelum's going to do 5 damage. Your Enfys Nest is going to do 6 damage. Your Cloud Rider doing 4 damage. So like, yeah, he uses his ability, but I think to be really valuable, they just can't go too wide. When it goes wide, I think it gets sketched, and they basically have to work up to their Super Laser Blast, which I also don't see in this list. Okay, so this list is definitely a fluke. Like, I don't think this list is even worth looking at much. I mean, it's got most of the stuff, but like, where's the Super Laser Blast, and why are the Avengers in the sideboard? That's weird. But you definitely want those in this deck. Reset the board, play your Snokes, your Cad Banes, your Avengers, and go from there. Maybe they're just trying to play a more like fair game or low to the ground, it seems. Like, I don't know. There's really, outside of the contracted Jumpmaster and Cartel Space, there's not a lot of space units. So, interesting take. But yeah, it's good against Kira. Everything else, it kind of has like a okay match against it. Like I said, if things are going too wide, maybe it becomes a problem, but yeah, I think it's a solid deck, and James, one of our locals here, swears by this deck, and then I know like George just did a masterclass on this deck, so it's worth looking at. It's worth thinking about. You got to have a plan against it if you're sitting across the table from this. Then I want to go over the last deck we'll talk about today. So Gar Datavault. So a lot of people are high on Gar Yellow for good reasons. But I came across, I forgot what tournament it was or where it was, but this did decent. I'm like, huh. Like, why wouldn't you just play Kira, you know? Or even Krennic. But we know that this deck is trying to buff based on having the upgrade on it. So we'll look at the list. So it's got the Timely's in there. There is no Reinforcement Walker in here. I think Timely's like really good with that, but they do have they do have Ruck here. So Ruck is really here. Let me actually go out. We can see Ruck real quick. Where are you, Mr. Ruck? Ruck. So yeah, like using Ruck with Timely is really good because he's shielded 3/6, but he has Death Touch, which is really just means any combat damage dealt, he's defeating the unit, no matter how big the unit is, how much HP it has. I see him being really good, like even going into set 5 with some of these like bigger leaders. But even just big units in general, like he's able to deal with. So I do like having that in this deck. The other spice is like using legal authority to steal stuff. See, there's only one in the deck, but you know, it's got smuggle options in here. Things coming out with shields that are going to be powerful. It does have access to like Victor Leader, so I do notice that it's playing a lot of like small ships, like the Starhopper, your Inferno 4s, your Onyx, your Outland. So it goes in the theme of sort of giving things +1/+1. So I think Victor Leader in here is pretty interesting. And then it just plays like some pilot package stuff, like the Idens. You've got Long Pike with the Smuggle, and then it obviously plays the shuttles as a Gar deck would normally play. And then you have access to like OB and Traitorous. So like, I do like the idea of having like still having buffed units with upgrades, but then having access to like a little bit of a more, I don't know, like you've got Sentinel access, you've got more pilots, so pilots bring, you know, additional stats with themselves, but then with Gar they get +1. So all these like +1 pilot upgrades, you have to see them as +2. So Wingman Victor 2 gets really good from that, Victor 3 gets very good from that, and Iden, and so on and so forth. So I think it's spicy. You've got some Vigilance in here to maybe heal up and mill a little. Then we have like a sideboard of Devotion, Dorsal Turret, which overperformed for me when I was playing my Vader Lake Country deck, because I really had no answer for Bright Hope, so that is really the only good solid answer for it. Basically, it's an upgrade that you attach to a unit. When you attack into any unit, it'll kill that unit with combat damage. So no matter the health, so with that 6 health booty that the Bright Hope has, you could just put Dorsal Turret on it, and then, you know, put it on a token if you want. You can put it on a TIE Fighter, and then it just you're losing one unit instead of like 4 units. Because usually in Vader, when they drop that Bright Hope, if you don't already have your buffed, like your Victor Leader buffing like a Clone Combat Squadron, then you have to basically throw all your ships into it, and after that you pretty much lose. Unless you're able to develop the board back before they win the game. Got Devotion in here, which is cool. I mean, it's an upgrade, it gives +1/+1, and it's healing, so like making it a problem for your opponent to get to the end game, and using Datavault at your advantage to have more health. Recovering the wings is really crazy, because when you think about this, you're giving something a shield and +1 and creating an X-Wing token. So like everything that you're seeing is giving +1 on value, more than what the card actually does. So create an X-Wing, give a unit a shield, but that unit's also getting buffed from Gar's abilities. So I think it's a sick list. I can see you like deploying Gar and using covering the wing on Gar, and that just gets really out of hand. Obviously you're missing like hotshot blasters and stuff like that, but I think it makes up some of that burst damage by having access to more of these upgrades. And like, sure, they can like, you know, confiscate your Wingman Victor 3, but I've got so many other like upgrade options that I'm going to get that upgrade onto this unit eventually. So I dig it. I like what I'm seeing here. You know, you have the option to go into something spicy like this in this meta. Like, I love having the broad meta. We'll talk about a final thoughts segment here. So those are some lists that I think, like, if you're having trouble figuring out what deck you want to play for a PQ, start going out of the box a little. I've been looking, like, I take a lot of inspiration from online decks I'm looking through. Like, I'm looking through on SwooDB what decks are being made, what people are creating out there, and trying to find my own pocket to sort of update it how I like it, and try it out in my locals, try it out online, you know, try to test with it, see how it does. But overall, I think, like, right now you need to be looking at those, you know, other options. I think it's time we have to go out of the box a little to try to combat what's being popularized right now. You know, the Hantu Databolts, Sabine's obviously popular. You've got the Vader Yellow Pilot deck, and there's other decks that are staples too that you need to look out for. Like Set 1 Vader Datavault is still a deck you should probably look out for. Boss Blue, you know, you may have a couple Boss Blues here and there, so you don't want to just like, oh, everybody's playing Kira and then you're not teching for Boss Blue. You definitely still want to tech for that. But overall, I think really what I wanted to achieve with this video was just talking about what's on my mind, which was like, what the hell am I going to play? Right now, I think I'm going between Ray Datavault, just because my last PQ I went 4-3, so I felt comfortable with that. And I've had some practice with it. I've made some updates to it to better match what's going on in the meta. Or maybe Palp Datavault, because I just love Palp. I love like having the biggest, baddest villain leader in the game. You know, with the biggest stat line on his booty side, and then just like being able to steal stuff. I love that deck, so it's between those two, I think, right now. I do like some of these spicy decks we've looked at today. But yeah, guys, hey, if you enjoyed the video, appreciate you watching. A couple shout out to the Haven for sponsoring the video and being our local sponsor here in Orlando. We have a PQ coming up Saturday this week, so most of our whole team will be there. A couple of stragglers not able to make it, but most of our team will be there. And then Friday we're doing a private 2-to-base showdown at our buddy Mark's house. Shout out to Mark. So we're doing like a pre-event with some of the Boffin Network homies coming over, and then just some of the local Orlando SWU players will be there. It's a very tight-knit, intimate event, 20-person cap. And right now I think we only have 1 seat left, so by the time I post this video it's probably going to be filled. But if not, check out our 2-to-base Discord, where you can sign up if you're a local Orlando player and you want to go to our 2-to-base showdown. Hop in our Discord and check out the Melee link I posted in our general chat where you can register. But yeah, guys, hey, thanks for checking out the video, and we'll see you on the next one.